Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a dynamic that, well, honestly, it trips up even the most solid couples. We're unpacking some really fascinating insights from Coach de Bruyns about a complaint that comes up all the time. Why do we so often end up feeling unappreciated or unvalidated by our significant other? I mean, if you've ever felt like you're just pouring your heart out and it's completely missing the mark, you're going to want to stick around. This analysis offers a completely fresh perspective on how our relationship dynamics actually work behind the scenes.
So, have you ever felt unappreciated or unvalidated by your partner? You know, it's a nearly universal complaint, and your first thought might be, well, my partner just isn't paying enough attention, or they just don't care enough. But what if the issue actually starts a bit closer to home? Okay, let's dive into this, because the root cause of this frustration is actually our own deep, instinctual need to be useful, and exactly how we handle that need. Which brings us to Section 1, the need to feel useful. To really grasp what's happening here in our adult relationships, we've got to rewind the clock a bit and look back at our childhood conditioning.
Coach de Bruyns shares this perfectly nostalgic anecdote, and I'm sure a lot of you can totally relate. Think back to when you were a kid. If your dad asked you to go fetch his shoes, what happened? You and your siblings would probably race each other across the house to be the one to get them. Or think about the days before the TV remote, or, when it was permanently lost in the couch cushions. Your parents would send you up and down to change the channel, basically acting as a human TV remote, and you'd happily do it. But why? Well, because getting those shoes or turning that dial gave you a massive hit of validation. It made you feel helpful, useful, and absolutely indispensable to your parents.
So the crucial point is this: that need to be validated does not go away. That deep-seated childhood desire to feel validated by being useful, it doesn't just magically disappear the second we become adults. It simply closes itself in new ways. It gets masked by different adult situations, and one of the biggest ways we try to get that exact same hit of validation today is by being incredibly helpful and giving to our spouses. We literally try to prove our worth by doing things for them. But as you'll see, this seemingly innocent desire can actually trigger some major roadblocks.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 2, the overgiver's trap. See, this childhood desire to be helpful can rapidly warp into something that actually damages our romantic connections. Enter the overgiver. This is the person who just wants to give, and give some more. They want to be the ultimate provider of help. But here's the massive blind spot. By giving so much of themselves, they actually don't leave any room for the other person to properly exist in the relationship. Think about it. Just as you want to feel like an indispensable asset to your partner desperately wants to feel like an asset to you. If you're constantly the one giving, you're literally suffocating their opportunity to feel useful. Contrast this with a balanced partner. A balanced dynamic acknowledges that, hey, you can't be the giver 100% of the time. You have to be open to receiving, so your partner gets to experience that validation too. Both people need the space to be an asset.
Which leads us to Section 3, the myth of independence. Because if being balanced means we have to receive help, why do so many of us stubbornly refuse to accept it? And this brilliantly illustrates the reality of the situation. 0. That is the exact number of people on planet Earth who are completely independent in the true sense of the word. People refuse help from their partners because they feel that accepting it somehow compromises their autonomy. But as Coach de Bruyns argues, pure independence, it's a complete fallacy.
Let's really break down why this idea of total independence is just an illusion. Consider the billionaire reality. Now, you might look at the wealthiest person in the world and think, wow, they are completely independent. But they aren't. Actually, scratch that. They literally couldn't achieve a single thing without an absolute army of people around them doing their bidding. What we often confuse for independence is really just working our way up a hierarchy. Having more resources at your disposal doesn't make you independent, it just changes who and what you depend on. Coach de Bruyns even makes a pretty profound theological point here. Striving for pure independence is essentially a godlike complex. In a theological sense, only a divine figure is truly alone and independent, depending on absolutely nothing. For us humans, achieving that state is simply unobtainable.
Okay, let's jump into Section 4, embracing interdependence. This is the core solution, because relationships exist precisely so we don't have to be entirely independent.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it flips the script entirely. Since complete independence is a myth, constantly striving for it is only going to stifle your relationship. You're in a partnership to have someone dependable. Interdependence isn't some sort of weakness. It's actually a much higher, healthier form of existence. It is the profound acknowledgement that, yes, we rely on each other. The absolute best relationships are built right on this concept. They maximize mutual benefit because both people acknowledge they need each other, and they cooperate to achieve a kind of harmony that neither could ever reach on their own.
So, how do we actually put this into practice on a Tuesday night?
How do we build this interdependence? Well, the source material gives us 3 very clear, actionable mechanics. First up, cooperate on joint tasks. Share the heavy lifting of your mutual life together. Give and take in those mundane, day-to-day operations. Second, help fulfill each other's independent ambitions. You can absolutely still maintain elements of your individual identity, but you actively support each other in reaching those personal goals. And third, take turns giving and receiving. You literally have to get comfortable stepping into both roles. Because remember, when you take a step back and actually let your partner help you, you are giving them the gift of feeling validated and useful.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a vital question to chew on. Are you blocking your partner from giving? Honestly, ask yourself, are you so hyper-focused on getting your own validation by being the helpful one that you're actually suffocating your partner's need to be an asset to you? The absolute strongest connections are built when both people are allowed to be givers and takers. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I really hope this sparks a completely new kind of conversation in your relationship.